Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with this morning's headlines. Centre and Army hints at more surgical strikes against militants in Northeast. NSA Ajit Doval to visit Myanmar soon to discuss further joint actions. Hindustan Unilever Limited pulls out Knorr instant noodles after food safety standards rejects approvals for 500 products. Majors like Starbucks, Kellogg's, Wendy's on its blacklist. Government issues alert in Assam after flood situation turns grim in Northeast. Close to 2 lakh people affected, over 500 villages badly hit. India undocks its first indigenously built aircraft carrier. INS Vikrant in Cochin enters elite group of nations capable of designing and constructing aircraft carriers. And United States announces deployment of more troops in Iraq to counter the surge of Islamic State militants. Decision comes after Iraqi Prime Minister's request to US President Barack Obama. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval will visit Myanmar soon to discuss further joint action against insurgents. His visit will follow the army's counter-offensive against the militant groups that ambushed and killed 18 Jawans in Manipur last week. Reacting to Indian Army's description of the operation, Myanmar has denied that it took place within its territory. Here's more.
India could be looking forward to more counter-offensive strikes against militants around Manipur and Nagaland. NSA Ajit Doval will be visiting Myanmar after a special forces unit carried out an operation hitting hard at the militants behind the Manipur attack last week.
चुनौती को हाथ में लेते हुए जो काम किया देश हित में, वो देश वाला सब मिलकर के उसको हम लोग को इसको सैल्यूट करना चाहिए। सेना के जवानों को और जितने भी लोग इसमें जुड़े हुए हैं, ये प्रक्रिया है बहुत बड़ा, इसमें एक कोऑर्डिनेशन का आवश्यकता होता है।
The plan for this first of its kind operation was chalked out hours after insurgents ambushed an army convoy, killing 18 soldiers in Chandal area of Manipur on 4th June. The plan got the Prime Minister's clearance on the night of 7th June, soon after his return from Bangladesh. During the intervening night of 8th and 9th of June, Special Forces personnel were airdropped deep inside the Myanmar territory. The airdrop was close to the camps of the militants. The strike began at 3 p.m. on Tuesday.
The Indian Army engaged 2 separate groups of militants along the Indo-Myanmar border at 2 different locations along the Nagaland and Manipur border. And as a consequence of this operation, threats to our civilian population and the security forces personnel have been averted.
However, Myanmar rejects claims that the operation took place within its territory. The director of Myanmar's presidential office denied the government's version of the operation, though assured that it will not accept militant activities on its soil against any of the neighboring countries. Meanwhile, India has strengthened security in Northeast region.
There is no any specific threat, but you can't deny. आपकी तमाम इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्रीज हैं, चारों तरफ है, anything can be happen anytime. We have to be very cautious. We have to be very alert.
The operation against the militant groups along the Myanmar border has been hailed by all political parties. The government also lauded Indian Army's efforts, saying it has zero tolerance for terror and terror organizations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And joining me for a chat this morning to talk about this is the former Vice Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Raj. Very good morning, Lieutenant General, and thank you for joining us on the program. Now, the NSA, Ajit Doval, is to head to Myanmar to talk to his counterparts there, of course, in that country. So does this mean that we are going to see further surgical strikes against India's enemies?
Morning, Frank. You see, the militants do not follow any niceties of international borders. They will hit on our side and go back to Burma with a feeling that they will have safe sanctuaries there. We have been subjected in the last 3 months to almost a regular monthly ambush by the militants of Khaplang group of Nagaland. I mean, Khaplang is a Burmese Naga, but then he is one of the militant groups, one of the 2 militant groups of Nagaland. There has been too much of talk of media. It's a very sensitive issue, crossing the border and going into neighboring countries' territory. I'm sure there is a tacit understanding, but the Burmese are also sensitive to the fact that firstly the area where these sanctuaries are located, Kachin Hills area, is not fully under the control of their army because the area is very rugged, not too well developed. Also there is a lot of Chinese influence in that area. So the Burmese government has to be, I think we need to underplay it. I'm sure there was a tacit understanding and Mr. Doval is going only to further that. This attack should not be the last. Otherwise we will be subjected to further attack. They will recoup, rebuild and attack again. Whatever known locations the camps are there along the border need to be eliminated and need to be neutralized. Mr. Doval, that may be the purpose of his going. But there has to be a tacit understanding because militant is not Burmese friend either. So I'm sure the government will give a tacit note without making it too public or too obvious because they have to be sensitive to the other countries like China, for example.
Lieutenant General, how difficult is it really to carry out strikes like these, surgical strikes in, on foreign soil? What kind of planning really and what kind of preparation goes into an operation like this?
Firstly, the terrain is not familiar. We need to gain more information either through satellite photographs or aerial photographs or whatever. Secondly, we do not know the layout if there are any villages. It is the effort of the security forces to avoid any collateral damage. They don't know the location of the camp. Other planning is the same as we do in our own territory. It's a jungle, it's a rugged terrain, there are hills there. There are very few approach routes on the land surface. So all that planning goes on. There is a military organization, how they plan and how they execute. I don't think the viewers would actually be interested in that. But the fact is that this attack on the militant camp was the need of the hour. There was a little despondency, a feeling of helplessness in the national mood that had to be countered. And it's a credit both to the government and to the security forces that in a short span of 4 days of that ghastly ambush where we lost 18 of our brave soldiers, they have struck back and given them a befitting reply, inflicting heavy damage. Now the benefit of such attacks is not confined to the number of militants who get neutralized or the number of weapons we capture because they can always recoup that. They can recruit more people, they can get more weapons. The benefit is more psychological because if you see the pattern of the last 3 months, they're safe that they can hit India on this side, either in Nagaland or in Manipur, and can go across and feel very safe. So that feeling of insecurity that wherever they are not safe, that is the biggest gain, I think.
Indeed. All right, Lieutenant General Raj Kadyan, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning and putting things into perspective for us and sharing your expertise on that particular subject. The message is what's important, is what the Lieutenant General said, and a strong message indeed has been sent out to India's detractors. Moving on now, amid the controversy over Maggi noodles, the National Food Regulator, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, has rejected approval for about 500 products. Some of these products are marketed by majors in the field like Starbucks, Kellogg's, Wendy's and Hindustan Unilever. Here's more.
More foodstuffs are joining Maggi noodles on the blacklist. According to the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, 500 products have shown unsafe lead levels. The names include some hot consumer favorites like a few Starbucks coffee varieties, a Kellogg's cereal, poultry products from Wendy's, Knorr noodles and the Ranbaxy multivitamin Revital. Reports say the products contained high levels of sugar, caramel, salt or heavy metals, caffeine and even iron fillings. FMCG major Hindustan Unilever Limited has decided to recall its Chinese range of Knorr instant noodles from the market pending product approval from the Central Food Safety Regulator FSI. However, a few companies said their products were blacklisted on technical grounds and not over safety issues. Meanwhile, Gujarat banned Maggi instant noodles, which is still under scrutiny for high levels of lead. Health officials at the Rajkot Municipal Corporation said results showed the product to be harmful.
परीक्षण के मुताबिक आज जो भी चार के रिजल्ट आए वो सभी फेल होकर आए और मानव के लिए हानिकारक डिक्लेयर किए गए। उनकी बात करें तो जो मैगी के नूडल्स में जो लेड का जिसका नियत परिणाम 2.5 ppm से उससे ज्यादा मिला है और साथ में उसमें मोनोसोडियम ग्लूकोनेट भी मिला है जो भी प्रोहिबिटेड है।
A spot check in Uttar Pradesh revealed the lead content in Maggi to be 17 times the permissible limit of 2.5 parts per million. Besides lead, monosodium glutamate was confirmed in the samples. Maker Nestle India has however said it does not add MSG to the noodles. Several other states like Maharashtra, Bihar and West Bengal, Haryana, Punjab and Himachal Pradesh say they are testing the product. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, India's growth is set to overtake China this year. That's according to the World Bank projection. India's expected growth rate of 7.5% will help it overtake China for the first time. World Bank chief economist Kaushik Basu said, with an expected growth of 7.5% this year, India is for the first time leading the World Bank's growth chart of major economies. According to the World Bank's Global Economic Prospects report, China is projected to grow at 7.1% this year. Developing countries are now projected to grow by 4.4% this year, with a likely rise to 5.2% in 2016 and 5.4% in 2017. The report also says in India, reforms have buoyed confidence and falling oil prices have reduced vulnerabilities, paving the way for the economy to grow by a robust 7.5% rate in 2015. Growth in South Asia is expected to continue firming to 7.1% this year, led by cyclical recovery in India and supported by a gradual strengthening of demand in high-income countries. The report summarizes that slowly but surely the ground beneath the global economy is shifting. Here's a look now at the events lined up for the day in our segment, The Day Ahead. Finance Minister of Nepal, Ram Sharan Mahat, is on a 3-day official visit to India. Mahat will be meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi to deliver Nepal Prime Minister Sushil Koirala's invitation to attend the International Donors Conference to be held later this month to raise funds for reconstruction of Nepal after the devastating earthquake in April. Mahat is visiting India at the invitation of Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and will also hold bilateral discussions regarding utilization and implementation of the financial support announced by Modi during his visit to Nepal last year. The nominations for the biennial polls to 24 Legislative Council seats will begin today with the issue of notification. Final election for the seats from the local authorities constituencies will be held on July 7th. The last day of filing nominations is June 18th. The 24 members of the Bihar Legislative Council from local authorities constituencies are due to retire in July. Meanwhile, a court in Cairo will resume the retrial of 3 Al Jazeera journalists charged with aiding a terrorist organization today. Journalists Mohammad Fahmy and Beher Mohammad were released on bail in February after spending more than a year in custody. A third Al Jazeera journalist, Peter Greste, was deported in February to Australia after serving 400 days in jail. He, however, has not returned for the trial. The 3 were arrested in December 2013 and originally sentenced to between 7 and 10 years in prison on charges including spreading lies to help a terrorist organization. And it's time for a short break now, but still to come, the flood situation in the northeast is grim. Nearly 2 lakh people are affected. Details on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow like. Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back, you're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the situation in the northeast has worsened with nearly 2 lakh people hit by floods in Assam. The government has issued an alert in Assam and has set up relief camps in several districts to help the affected. Some 80,000 people have been forced out of their homes. Over 500 villages have been badly affected due to the floods. Here's a detailed report.
The flood situation in Assam has deteriorated in the last few days, affecting about 1.95 lakh people in over 553 villages. Out of these, 8 districts have been majorly hit, those of Barpeta, Sonitpur, Dhimaji and Lakhimpur. More than 8,200 hectares of land has been destroyed by the rains in the Brahmaputra Valley. The Brahmaputra river has been flowing above the danger mark at Nemti Ghat in Jorhat district. Villagers have complained they have received little help from the government.
এইখিনি সময়ত আমাৰ সমস্ত বকচাপুৰী সদৌ বকচাপুৰী তেখেতে যেতিয়া গৰাকহনীয়াৰ বিষয়ে কোনো চিন্তা চৰ্চা নকৰিলে আৰু কোনো মাটি বাৰী উন্নতিৰ বিষয়ে একো চিন্তা নকৰিলে আমাৰ কাৰণে চকু ঘূৰি নাচালে এইকাৰণে আজি সমস্ত ৰাইজে বকচাপুৰী ৰাইজে আমি গোট পিট খাই পেলাই
The region continues to suffer from erratic monsoon showers with more than 80,000 already displaced. 2 deaths have been reported due to flood-related incidents. The government claims it is making all possible efforts to provide relief to those affected. The state government has set up 3 relief camps in Tinsukia district where around 200 villagers have taken shelter. Assam State Disaster Management Authority has even put the state on high alert. A total of 38 roads and bridges have been damaged, making it difficult to provide relief material to the villages. The authorities have opened 2 helpline numbers for emergency services. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Here's a look now at what else is making news across the nation in our segment Nationwide. A CISF Jawan was killed and 3 others injured after an argument over transit pass and frisking of the Fire Force personnel turned ugly at the Calicut International Airport on Wednesday night. The CISF personnel died after he was seriously injured in gunshots that went off during a scuffle between 2 others. The clash led to the temporary shutdown of the airport and the flights were diverted to the Kochi airport. The injured are being treated at the Kozhikode Medical Centre. Former Delhi Law Minister and AAP MLA Somnath Bharti has been served notices by the Delhi Commission for Women after his wife filed a complaint alleging domestic violence. DCW Chief Barkha Singh said Bharti has been asked to reply to the notices by June 26th. In her complaint, the MLA's wife, Lipika Bharti, accused him of domestic violence, mental torture, perjury and harassment for dowry. Bharti has called the allegations baseless. Following the arrest of former Delhi Law Minister Jitendra Tomar on Tuesday, his party lawyers have moved a sessions court for bail. Tomar is also seeking a revision of the trial court order that sent him to 4 days in custody in the alleged fake degree case. Both pleas are likely to be taken up by the sessions court in Faizabad today. India's first indigenously built aircraft carrier INS Vikrant was undocked at the Cochin Shipyard Limited yesterday. The ship will undergo a series of fitment and trial processes before it is ready for propulsion and inducted into the Navy. INS Vikrant will be India's largest aircraft carrier, putting it among an elite group of 4 nations who are capable of designing and constructing such vessels. The ship has a length of over 260 meters and breadth of 60 meters. It has 2 takeoff runways and a landing strip with 3 arrestor wires capable of operating stow-bar aircraft, including the indigenous LCA, as well as a range of helicopters with hangar facilities. Moving on to some international news now. US President Barack Obama has approved to deploy more troops in Iraq to fight the Islamic State militants. The announcement to send 450 more troops comes just a day after he said that the US lacked a complete strategy to wipe out Islamic State. At present, there are nearly 3,000 US military personnel, including trainers and advisors, in Iraq.
The United States will send up to 450 military advisors to Iraq to help train local forces fight against Islamic State. US President Barack Obama made the decision following a request from Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi. The troops will be deployed to the Takdam military base in Anbar province. Its capital Ramadi has been under the Islamic State siege since May this year.
Our strategy, and when I say our strategy, I mean both the strategy of the Iraqis and our coalition, will be based on our knowledge of what's happening on the ground. And what's happening on the ground in Anbar is a source of concern. And the strategy that we have discussed today in terms of ramping up our training and advising and assisting mission reflects the concern about the situation in Anbar province.
The plan to expand the 3,100-strong US contingent of trainers and advisors in Iraq marks an adjustment in strategy for Obama, who has faced mounting pressure to do more to blunt the momentum of Islamic State insurgents.
I think what it represents is a conclusion by the President and his national security team that the situation on the ground in Iraq would benefit from more trained Iraqi security forces and more Sunni tribal fighters that are operating under the command and control of the Iraqi central government who have received advice and assistance and equipment from the U.S. military.
The decision came a day after Iraqi Defense Minister Khalid al-Obeidi met the chief of the United States Central Command, Lloyd Austin, in Baghdad. The fall of Ramadi drew harsh US criticism of the weak Iraqi military performance. US-backed Iraqi forces have made only halting progress against Islamic State militants who seized about a third of Iraq over the past year in a brutal campaign marked by mass killings and beheadings. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Here's a look now at the other international news and updates in our segment World Wrap. Australia is scheduled to host the Counter-Terrorism Summit involving participants from 25 countries aimed at improving the regional response to the threat. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott will open the summit today as nations look to combat the spread of violent extremism and the recruitment of would-be jihadists. The summit will be attended by representatives from the US, Indonesia, Pakistan, Britain, Malaysia, New Zealand, Singapore, Japan and several others. The United Nations and the European Union delegates will also be present. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin has voiced concern to the US over the fate of Syrian Druze battling insurgents in Syria's civil war. He discussed the threat faced by them in the meeting with US military's top general Martin Dempsey, but they shied away from the issue of sending arms to the Syrian Druze. Nearly 5 lakh Druze, an offshoot of Islam, have been living in the war zone close to the Israeli border. Violent scenes were witnessed in central Santiago in Chile as students took to the streets to protest education reform initiatives. Angry students faced off with riot police demanding a greater say in the education overhaul by President Michel Bachelet. Bachelet is looking to bolster teacher pay and conditions, bring public schools now managed and financed by townships under national jurisdiction, and make university education free. But teachers and students say that the reforms are insufficient and they have not been consulted in the changes. Well, it's time for another short break now, but still to come. Brazil soccer legend formally declares intentions to run as a candidate to lead FIFA. That and other sports news on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
A new government in New Delhi. New faces.
People are not investing because they are scared of your tax administration.
New thinking.
The auction process is a fair and good process.
We cannot have a one-size-fits-all reform policy.
For insights and perspective.
Judiciary should be more concerned about corruption within itself. The Modi government slogan of "Achhe din aane wale hain." Soon the people's slogan will be "Hamare purane din lauta do."
The biggest show on economic policy. Watch State of the Economy.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, India will look to consolidate a good start against Bangladesh in the first test at Fatula. After winning the toss and choosing to bat first, India scored 239 runs without losing a wicket on day one. Opener Shikhar Dhawan and Murli Vijay established absolute dominance as they hammered the listless Bangladesh bowling attack. Dhawan dominated the innings from the start, scoring an unbeaten 150 of 158 balls, including 21 boundaries. Vijay was on 89 when bails were drawn for bad light after 34 overs were lost because of heavy rain. This was the second time that the Dhawan-Vijay duo posted a double-century partnership after their 289-run stand in Mohali back in 2013. Moving on now, former Brazilian captain Zico has formally declared his intentions to run as a candidate to lead FIFA on Wednesday. The former Brazilian midfielder admitted he will likely need a change of rules in order to make his run viable. Under present rules, candidates must have the support of federations from 5 countries affiliated with soccer's governing body, which Zico lacks. He admitted he has support from fans but not yet from officials. He said that he would only stand for elections if the requirement to have endorsements from 5 federations is withdrawn ahead of the vote.
Gostaria de ratificar essa decisão que eu tomei, dessa possibilidade de vir a ser candidato na FIFA nas próximas eleições. Me sinto capacitado para isso. É lógico que serão necessárias mudanças de regras do jogo e principalmente porque com as que estão aí não há a menor possibilidade de concordância, não só na FIFA, mas no Brasil, em termos de CBF, de federações, de confederações.
Well, let's now take a look at the other sports updates in our sports beat. The Indian Cricket Board has extended support to the national cricket team of Nepal to play the World Cup qualifying match in Ireland. Nepal, scheduled to play a qualifier in Ireland later this year, is undergoing training at the cricket stadium in Dharamshala town of North Himachal Pradesh state. BCCI Secretary Anurag Singh Thakur on Wednesday met the players and encouraged them to give their best. India will begin their FIFA World Cup qualification campaign against Oman in Bengaluru today. India and Oman are in Group B along with Iran, Guam and Turkmenistan for the preliminary league, with top 2 finishers progressing to the next phase of the competition as 46 Asian countries vie for the 4 spots in the 2018 World Cup finals to be held in Russia. Though India will be playing at home in their opening Group B game, the hosts face a difficult task against Oman, who have won 2 of their 4 previous meetings, losing only once while drawing the other. World Cup runners-up Argentina start as favourites to win their first Copa America title in 22 years when this year's tournament kicks off in Chile. Argentina were beaten by Germany in the last summer's World Cup final and will hope to go on one better in the Copa, with Barcelona forward Lionel Messi captaining them. Barca teammate Neymar is the captain of Brazil, but their 3rd member of the team, Luis Suarez, is suspended and misses out for holders Uruguay. The tournament begins with hosts Chile facing Ecuador in Santiago on Friday morning. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.